away from trouble. And especially like the part about expanding my territory, like that really strikes out too, or stands out. I mean, that says, like, in other words, like, don't just allow me to like be okay and manage in like this little silo that I have in my life. Like, give me, like, expand my blessings and allow me to go above and beyond, in all that I do and all that I say and all that I encounter. And I've been thinking about that story that I've been thinking about in particular lately, um, because we're in like one of the highest peaks of uncertainty of probably all of our entire lives as a nation and all that kind of stuff. And we're in a lot of areas where there are a lot of pockets of misery. And so this is one, like, this has been one really strong reminder and inspiration to me, in that even when things are really crazy and uncertain and we're trying to figure out how to manage through it, we can still, even when we don't have the words or know what's going to come next, we can still pray to God, like, bless me despite this misery. And B, don't just like let that be it. Like, Lord, I pray that you would expand, like, take me to greater heights, like expand even what I imagine would be my greatest blessing. So I share that today, just in encouragement and hope that, as we continue to sort through whatever 2020 is, whatever you want to call it, like, we can still take rest in Christ and in the fact that we can ask and pray to him for being blessed in spite of, and being able to be blessed through it and beyond all of it. And that's that. Amen. All right. Moving into business, we had a really solid start last week. I'll go through just a couple reminders, but just to make sure we're all up to snuff. We're all working towards everything that will be going on during virtual YPAW, the 20th to 25th of July. It'll all be held in different private Facebook groups and Zoom. Aaron, do we know where registration is right now by chance?
You mean as far as how many people we have?
Yeah.
Do not know the answer to that, but I can definitely ask right now.
Cool. We're working right now on exactly what's going to be happening with classes and how we're going to monitor those. We're still working on being able to have a meeting, an orientation with the instructor, so we can iron all that out specifically. So between that and what the actual theme will be, we're going to come back to that with you guys once we've had the opportunity to get some more specificity on what that looks like. So we'll come back to that hopefully within the next week or two. We'll probably spend most of our time today talking a little more specifically about what we're going to do with our hangout time. So each day, Monday to Friday, is going to be our session about these 5 different 1-hour sessions. In fact, I'm going to copy paste this and throw it in the chat just so everyone's eyes can be on this as well. So it'll be Monday to Friday is 10 o'clock is will be praise and worship. 12 o'clock will be when everyone takes their master classes, one of the different 5 between spoken word, drumline, art, dance, and step. It'll be one of those 5. Choirs at 2. The dream talk with different speakers each day happens at 6, and then our hangout is at 8. So I'd say during that week, we don't have to, since this is a different kind of year, we don't have to worry about like recontorting our entire 24/7 schedule around YPAW week like we normally would have to. I would say try to do the best you can to avail yourself during these hours. special like primary ones for Elab duties are definitely going to be obviously the hangout, the classes. We're still taking a look at what's happening in choir, as well as how praise and worship and these talks are going to go. But those two, the classes, choir, and the hangout are going to be some of the higher points of the day. So that's kind of the prelims at this point. Any questions or thoughts on that before we go any further? Stellar. All right. How's it going, Josh? I can't hear you, but I can see you. Still not working.
Oh.
We will not be silenced.
Josh, I'm going to send you back to the waiting room and then readmit you into the meeting to see if that'll fix the problem.
All right. I think those are most of the prelims we wanted to just recheck through. Aaron and I had also maybe thought about pushing our regular 6 o'clock meeting time on Wednesday, possibly back 1 hour to 7. I think Nicole usually gets off at 7, so we're thinking maybe that'd be another way to like try to keep everyone as close to being present as possible. So we just wanted to throw that out there to see if that might be an option.
Maya.
I see Maya falling apart.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yes, I'm fine with that as well.
No work for me.
Sorry. That's fine with me.
Okay.
Joshua, try and speak. Can't hear you, pal.
Still not working. I think he's gonna try it on his phone, maybe.
Okay. All right. Jesus. All right. So everybody, like you said, is okay with moving the meeting back to 7 because we want to make sure that there's as many of us present for the meetings as possible, so that we can get as much done during the meetings as possible. Shoot. Sorry, Brian, I'm trying to pull up the agenda.
So good. I think that takes us to that takes us to our hangout time. We're going to spend most of our time talking around this. So we had started for our hangout time each evening. So we get Monday to Friday, all for that 8 o'clock p.m. hour. That'll be our biggest, like we said last week, that'll be like our group's biggest opportunity to be able to reach everyone in Nepal, to be able to interact with them, to be able to give them something in the way of some levity, some fun, some connection, some ministries, addressing relevant topics, of being able to, and creating some ways of actual engagement. And that engagement piece is going to look much more different, a little more complicated because of everything being done virtually. So we kind of have to go a little, in some ways here and there, a little bit more out of our way to like really make sure that people are engaging from home, from their device, since we're not like in person to look at us and speak with us, or to be in the dorms and having those conversations and making everyone feel seen and heard and all of those things. So one idea we'd started talking about last week was using Friday, the end of the week, for our group to host a talent show, have everybody send in maybe a pic or video or something like that of their own personal talent that could be like shared and run through that Friday evening. It's just like a fun, uplifting activity. We had talked through ideas trying to see if we could maybe get together to pre-tape some things in advance. We talked about trying to couple different ideas of what kinds of things we might want to, or topics we may want to use the week to present. I think once we know have a little more clarity on what the theme for YPAW is going to end up being, that can play a role too. And we'll share that once we have some more info on that as well. We talked about trying to find even things that can minister and to connect and to give people a little bit more hope and spirituality and things like that in the midst of having to be quarantined away. We covered a lot of ground. So at this point, what I want to do is just kind of reopen the floor back up to dive a little bit more into what we want to use this time for, and to start to lay some groundwork or some framework into what each day we want to do and how we want to go about it.
I guess we can possibly recap or kind of take what we had talked about last week with what Kirsten was talking about, doing the quarantine radio or something along those lines, and deciding, like Brian was saying, like what we want our topics to be from there.
I have a suggestion about the radio thing.
Okay.
I guess I don't really know maybe what to talk about, but I was thinking it would be cool if we could like take calls in. Like maybe people could like call in, like we have like maybe a question or like a topic, like we said. And then maybe we just open the phone lines to like maybe some YPAW kids can come in, give their opinion. So it's like more interactive.
I like that idea. Can anybody hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we can.
All right.
I think that's a good idea. I think what we would have to do, if that's what we want to do, we just need to be very strategic about, one, which questions we are willing to answer, and two, we have to be very strategic on how we lead the discussion. So we don't want to make it too broad to where it can be just a free-for-all, but we also don't want it to be too rigid to where it's not, it's not authentic, if that makes sense.
Well, maybe we could mention something about like the Black Lives Matter movement. I know you guys didn't want it to be like, oh, we're saying that, Black people are better than white people, but we could like maybe do a topic about that, have them call in.
I wouldn't mind doing something with that, since it's obviously something very close to home that does affect a lot of our young people. If we do anything with that, I think I think we said this last week, we'd have to make sure to have like some kind of a very specific and guided takeaway prepared to work towards that would still work within the realms of YPAW.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I guess maybe the takeaway would be like where is God during all of this? Like during, I guess, this race war that is ensuing upon our nation. Like we could say like where is God? Because I know there's a lot of people saying like, why is God letting this happen to us? Mm-hmm. Like why is nobody stepping in? Like, all this death and destruction and like the coronavirus, like, it's making a lot of people anxious and feel sad.
Mm-hmm.
Like they can't do nothing or anything, or even come out and just step out the house.
Right. I do think that if we take the approach of somehow tying Black Lives Matter back to scripture, that would be great. I think what is going to be the most important is preparation as far as like what we plan to share. So even if we decide to take a particular stance on Black Lives Matter, making sure that we have facts and that it's not just our personal opinions, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I definitely think that Black Lives Matter is going to be around for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that as things are progressing, by the time we get to July, there may be a lot more things that have happened since then to where kids will be needing a place where they can talk about it. And I think that if we go from the approach of doing like a radio station, we can potentially start it off with an open conversation amongst Elab and then open it up for questions. I think that that would be great because then we will have started the conversation and at least have given them the basis for what the topic is and what the conversation or the direction of the conversation. And then hopefully that will then kind of filter what kind of questions we'll get. As opposed to just saying, tonight we're going to talk about Black Lives Matter. And then we just go for it. So yeah, I think that's a good idea.
So maybe something conversational then, like a panel sort of thing, maybe with, you know, like for example, like, you know, like Maya saying, for example, like, you know, when these names died and then when protests started, like, this is how I felt and this is how upset and unsafe that I felt. And these are the questions I was asking God. And this is what I had to turn to, what I had to sort through, what I had to dwell on to use at least as some sort of solace to help me to feel safe. So that it's not all just 100% entirely unsafe misery and anxiousness.
We can almost do it like Brian said from like a testimonial side, because I feel like we are all in the process of coping and finding our, you know, where we are as far as with everything that's going on. And then that may even open up dialogue for not just Black Lives Matter, but for anxiety and for things along that line.
Yeah, and that's not an easy thing at all, but I mean, that's something that could be very potentially useful and helpful because they're, you know, if I'm 15 and listening to people who are a few years older than I am discuss this, like it's, that can be something really, really beneficial and useful. Like, hey, I'm right there with you. Like I too, like am feeling extremely anxious about this, but here's the range of emotions and things I had to turn to kind of help myself to cope and to deal with this.
And especially now that it's hitting very, very, very close to home, because we have quite a few 65ers who actually knew the young lady who was killed the other day. So they're wanting to talk about it, but I think that we need to be willing to give tools for how we manage it. So then hopefully that will help them to, you know, manage it. And we take the angle of how do we manage our emotions in this crisis, maybe a better angle than like our stance on, you know, on the movement, if that makes sense.
May I ask a question though?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I feel like I get what you guys are saying, but shouldn't we take a stance though? Like, aren't these our people? Like, DePaul houses a lot of Black people. Like, I get what you guys are saying, but like, isn't this time to take a stand? Like, I'm just asking, like, I'm not trying to throw no shade or nothing. Like, but do you guys get what I mean? Like, isn't it the time to like stand up and say what we're about and what we believe in?
Brian, I mean, I can answer it or.
Go for it.
So I am 100%. That's my toaster strudel, Maya.
Yes.
So I am 100% for taking a stance. I do, though, want us to make sure that we keep in mind that, like I said last week, it's not our own personal stance. It's what YPA's stance is. So that would probably have to be a conversation that we would need to have with Auntie Leslie to know from our leader what angle we would take. Because like we were talking about last week, we don't want this to be our own personal thing. We're representing YPA, and so on this particular platform, we wouldn't want to say, like, we hate people who hate us. We don't want to.
Yeah.
Not saying that we would do that, but we also have to be very careful as to what we say, because it will be not just our own personal opinion, but it will be the opinion of YPA. So I think that we can take a stance. I think that we do need to get whatever that stance is directly from Auntie Leslie to make sure that she's, one, comfortable with it, and two, that she is well aware of this is what we're saying.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Great, great, great.
So if I'm hearing correctly, one of the topics for throughout the Elab time, or whatever we're referring to this time as, is going to be around Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
And we have 4 of them, correct, Brian? Because the 5th one will be the talent show.
Correct.
All right, 1 down, 3 to go.
Lit.
Okay. I think one of the days we should talk about peer pressure. I know that's like super cliche and people talk about it all the time, but that doesn't make it any less relevant. I just think it would be something insightful to talk about, especially in a time where people aren't around each other as much, but are taking a lot of cues from social media, and everything that people are doing on social media isn't necessarily good and isn't necessarily good standards to live by. So I feel like that would be something cool to talk about. It's really, being yourself, being true to who you are, and even taking the time to like learn yourself and learn things that you do like and don't like, so that you can have your own personal standards. I think that would be cool to talk about. People didn't really talk about that with me, so.
Yeah, I think peer pressure is something we should talk about every year, because I think as you get older, peer pressure is the same. It may just look different. So the way that we may even taken an approach to it last year, the audience will still need to hear, and especially like Darian was saying, the fact that we are within this, limited interactions with other people. So a lot of our interactions are through social media, at least right now it is. And we are seeing a lot of things coming through social media, good and bad. And then how do I filter those things to where I only internalize the things that, are necessary, as opposed to internalizing everything, which can be not so productive. So I like that idea.
Yeah, and we're definitely seeing that kind of thing has been, like Aaron said, like heightened in just different ways in this pandemic and on social media and all that kind of stuff. Like, just because the times change, like peer pressure changes with it. Like, it just takes on different forms.
So maybe even if we're going to go the route of peer pressure, maybe it's even self-identity, of like really truly finding out who you are as a person, as opposed to who you are amongst people. Because I think that is a challenge, not just for the participants, but that's a challenge for everybody. Is within my friend group, am I an individual, or am I just one of 7 of the same person? So like really being able to identify who you are as a person and being comfortable with who you are, and even having the acceptance of knowing, even though within this friend group I'm not the same as this person, but what I bring to the table is as important as the other person. So I think that's good.
I just agree.
I like it. Everybody in agreement on peer pressure / self-identity.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Stellar.
Thank you, Jacob. Okay. 2 down, 2 to go.
2 down, 2 to go.
I feel like we should talk about womanhood, but I don't know what about womanhood we should talk about.
Okay.
If that makes sense. I don't know, because I feel like, especially being a Black woman, like, I feel like growing up, you can feel weird and you can feel awkward. So I feel like just something about, like, how did it feel, like, better about, like, who you are at this weird stage? If
And
that makes sense.
we could potentially tie that into the peer pressure / self-identity, because we could take the angle of womanhood and manhood, because I think a lot of the issues with self-identity and peer pressure comes from the evolving into adulthood or evolving into going from a child to a teenager to a young adult. And that's a lot of where self-identity gets lost, is because I don't really know how to be a woman. I don't really know what it is to be a man, if that makes any sense. Or maybe even if we use that angle to kind of talk about those things. And I think one of the things that we'll have to keep in mind is that it will be everyone together. So even if we did discuss womanhood, how do we tie that in to manhood as well, but also not lose the audience in the process?
Okay, you're right.
This one is kind of light and carefree, but I think it is so annoying, but I think it is something that we need to talk more about. Just this like FOMO of like, or fear of missing out. One of the things that I am noticing a lot now, especially during this whole coronavirus and quarantine, is that people are, obviously right now we're not supposed to be gathering as much, but small gatherings are happening. And people are taking things like very, very personal, you know what I'm saying? And even like beyond just like coronavirus, just like that feeling of thinking like, if I'm not included, I'm hated, or if I'm not always the person that gets to come X, Y, and Z. Like, how do you manage, like, you know, the feeling of feeling like you're missing out on something? Because FOMO is real. And that's just something that I thought I would throw out.
I mean, that's not a bad idea, honestly, because it's been some times that I miss events with my friends, and they just hit me with some other mess, because it's either I have to work or I'm in the house just trying to stay safe. But I think that's a good idea, Aaron.
So even if we use like, because what I don't want to happen is that during our Elab time, it turns into like a caucus meeting or something along those lines, to where it's like real heavy. And I want for us to have like, I feel like if we talk about something that's like not super heavy and everybody will have their own personal opinion about, will be more intriguing. Not saying that Black Lives Matter is not intriguing, and not saying that talking about peer pressure is not intriguing, but at the same time, let's talk about something, and I'm not saying that it has to be FOMO, but like something a little lighter. You know what I'm saying? If that makes any sense.
Aaron, what is the caucus meeting?
A caucus meeting, it's like a gathering, so it's like real official. And I'm sorry.
I'm here for the FOMO. I think that's real. I've definitely dealt with it before. So I think that could be cool.
Like, even if we don't necessarily take the approach of like, this is what FOMO is, this is how you deal with FOMO, but like having an open dialogue, like, or like, I don't know if you guys watch Kev on Stage, his actual YouTube channel, but he does like these unpopular opinions, and like people like give their unpopular opinion and then they just talk about it. So it's not like for instance, the one that was the other day, which we don't have to do this, but like it was one person was saying that ribs were overrated. So then one person was giving their opinion on why they felt like ribs were overrated, and then people were just talking about the, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a topic that we're putting out there and we're just talking about it as opposed to, yes, we can leave them with something in the end, but it was just a light, carefree conversation, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
I actually really like that. Oh, sorry.
No. Sorry, you go ahead.
No, I was just saying I really like that idea, and maybe if we kind of just stole that idea and like kind of was like, hey, what's something that like what's an unpopular thing like in church or like just in something, and we all just discuss it. That'd be kind of fun.
Just like a random conversation.
Yeah, just like a red table talk or whatever, like a radio thing.
Yeah, because if you
I
pick the
feel
right
like-
things, those are funny.
I feel like we could honestly almost come with our own unpopular opinions rather than, like, of course we could ask them for a few, but I think if we have a few that we come with, it'll even make it even better to help guide.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's a good idea too, just a conversation starter.
Yeah, and something like kind of like carefree, funny, like we can make it fun.
Okay, so let me back up. I'm open to whatever we decide, but are we saying that that's the approach that we want to take to all of the Elab times, or we want to do just one unpopular opinion, if that makes sense?
I think that broadly that should be the idea, but I think that for that specific night, we should just focus on that.
On that topic that you're saying?
Or whatever few couple of topics that we come with, unpopular opinions that we come with.
So that would be the unpopular opinion would be the topic for the night.
Yeah, like the gag of the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And we could almost even.
She said the gag.
This may even be a way for us to be like, it may be more intriguing. I don't know exactly how we would do it with Black Lives Matter, but we would almost turn the Elab hangout not necessarily into a skit, but into a skit of like one person, even though this may not be your own personal opinion, be like, I don't care about social media and social media doesn't, like those types. Somebody take like the complete left of whatever it is that we're trying to drive home to almost kind of spark the conversation. Because I feel like if you have everybody is like, yes, you shouldn't fall into peer pressure, or you shouldn't look at people, it will just be like another conversation, as opposed to if we stage people who are going to say like this, you need to follow X, Y, and Z in order to be, to find, you know what I'm saying? Is that making sense?
Yeah,
I think that's a really good
that's-
idea. I think that helps us include skits into it. I know like last week we talked about how it would be kind of difficult with the quarantine radio on like we had mentioned like maybe one of the nights we would all get together just so it would be a together thing. But I think that is an option of like helping that situation, without us all physically being together. It's still putting something together.
Mm-hmm.
Dare, you were going to say something?
I was just saying. I mean, I was asking. So, like, a devil's advocate, kind of.
Yeah.
Just to keep it spicy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we could even say in the beginning, even if we do this, that we would say like that these are not necessarily, like we could say somehow or another, like even though there are certain people who feel this way, like this is I don't know if we would say that it's staged. So then that way Auntie Leslie is not like, oh my God, like this is what they really think. I don't know how we would do that, but then I just think that the conversation would become a little more spicy if we give more of an opinion than just, because a lot of times when you get like-minded people together, then usually the opinions are, they're probably different with, a little bit of variation, but for the most part, it is all the same.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
maybe,
feel like we'd have
go
to.
ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say I was gonna feel like, or I feel like we'd have to keep it with basic topics like the FOMO though, because I feel like Black Lives Matter, stating an opposite opinion might come off wrong,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
then like you had said with the how people can just take kind of clips of conversations and stuff like that and turn it into something it wasn't, when really it is just somebody acting like they feel this type of way. Like I don't think something as serious as Black Lives Matter. I don't know.
For
I
sure.
don't know. Something like.
And what we could potentially do is do like we've done in the past during our skits, is like a couple of days the skits are very funny and we're like trying to drive home, like it's up, it's funny, but we always have like one skit to where it's a little heavier, so it's not even that like this is a serious thing, you know what I'm saying? So maybe on the night when we talk about Black Lives Matter, it isn't the same. We really do talk about like, where is God in the midst of this crisis? But maybe we leave, if we said, like, for instance, like if we're going to do the talent show maybe on Thursday, on the first 3 days, we do the unpopular opinion and then Black Lives Matter on Thursday, and then roll into the talent show. So we somehow plug this serious topic in the midst of all of the other things, so that hopefully by the time we get to Thursday, we will have their attention for sure, because they will be intrigued by the dialogue. But then when they come in and they realize, whoa, this is real. But then after that is the talent show, if that makes sense.
I like it.
I do too. Okay, so I think that we could still use the peer pressure idea though for the unpopular opinion, if that makes sense. Because we can have somebody completely left of,
I also have one.
But
Okay, so and this doesn't have to be its own day. This could be in, I think, either the FOMO or the peer pressure. But talking about how it's completely okay to be a Christian saved at a young age and not feel like you can't still have fun. Like there's a way to be saved and still have fun while keeping God's word at a young age. Like being a Christian doesn't necessarily mean that I'm stuck up and I don't do anything, but that you can still have fun. But like I said, it doesn't have to be its own thing if we didn't want it to be. It could be tied into something.
so what we could do is we could either do a few things. We could use it because we have about an hour. We could maybe even choose more than one topic for the night, and then somehow so like let's say that Darian, you're the person, like if we use like being saved at a young age, and you were the person who was saying like, nope, it's corny to be, but then by the end of our conversation you're like, yes, it is cool to be. So whoever the devil's advocate is, or whoever is the person who has the unpopular opinion at the end of it, will be the one to kind of tie it up and make the point of whatever we're trying to say. You know what I'm saying? So then that way it's not misleading that you think that being saved is, you know what I'm saying? If that makes sense.
Okay, so should we make characters for this radio? Like, should there be a host? Like, maybe the devil's advocate could be different every single day.
Yes.
Like, something like that.
I do agree. I think that this could be a full skit. Like, I think that this could be, if we all take on these personas of whoever, and that person just runs for the whole week, and it's not necessarily Darian, and then that takes the whole, it being Darian's opinion or it being Maya's opinion. It's whoever Darian's character is, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That may make it even lighter and a little easier to be the devil's advocate if it's not air. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
that I'm some character, if that makes sense. But it would be real dialogue. I mean, we would be talking for real. We wouldn't it wouldn't be as scripted as our skits are. But if you are the devil's advocate, or if there's more than one, you would be driving that thing home. Like, you would sell it like you really believe that. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like that will get them talking, is if somebody is in there talking completely left. You know what I'm saying? Because that's
Right.
when they get riled up,
Mind blown.
and somebody is talking completely crazy.
Having
You know
heated.
Right.
Spicing things up.
So right now we have peer pressure, FOMO, and being saved at a young age. That's okay. Okay. So
And Black Lives, right?
yes,
Yeah,
Black
Black
Lives
Lives
Matter
Matter.
by itself on a whole nother day.
Oh,
So
oh, oh.
so then this is the question that do we want to let, because an hour is a long time.
It is a long time.
Want for peer like the conversation or the skit to be an hour, or do we want to try and do more than one unpopular opinion per time that we meet?
Well, didn't we mention last week something about like a giveaway daily, or
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. We
so
did
that would
Giveaway.
a portion
you
of
didn't watch?
Yes. So are you asking because that could be a portion of our hour? Is that what you're asking that?
Yes.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think that would be cute. And maybe we could have like people send in like their outfits, since we can't see their outfits. Like, I don't know, like maybe it could be like we give like 15 minutes to this, like 15 minutes to that, like little things.
We could turn this into a full radio broadcast, because you know how like when you watch like podcasts or when you even listen to the radio or whatever, they have segments. So maybe like
Yeah.
the first segment is like best dress for the day, I don't know, and then the next segment is unpopular opinion, and then maybe the next segment is something else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and maybe like when we get into our skit, we can call it something like completely different. So it's like our code to know, like to get into character.
Yeah.
Like get ready to be drama.
Yeah, because an hour is a long time to like maintain everybody's attention span.
Yeah.
So we can like keep things like kind of change up throughout that time to like make sure everyone like still maintains there and stays for most to all of it. Like anything like that would be stellar.
Yeah. I'm hoping that, and once again, we haven't really discussed as far as logistically if we'll all be in one place together, or if we will do the virtual idea. And I don't think we have narrowed down exactly how or what platform we will be using for any of these sessions. But I would love to see us be able to use a Zoom, because there's something about Zoom and being able to see people's faces for the most part. And I mean, there are plenty of ways to manage like background noise and the talking, but it's something different than typing something on the screen and then waiting for especially if we wanted to have an open dialogue with them to share their opinion, if that makes sense.
Or can we do it live or something like that?
So we haven't decided exactly how, or I don't know. I don't know what the plan is. That's still kind of up in the air.
Gotcha.
But like in my head, I just see us like being in one space, sitting on the couch, and just having a conversation. I mean, and we can definitely do that through Zoom. But I think in order for it to, really play into the skit situation, if that's one of the segments, it would just work seamlessly if we were all in the same place. But yes, I just wanted to throw that out there.
And where that would happen, if so.
Right. Well, Barcelona is always open.
Lit.
So So did we determine if we're doing more than one, or we're gonna choose one topic and that's just gonna be a portion of the show? Is that what it is?
I feel like we should do more than one.
Okay.
But maybe like just see how it goes with the conversation and what people have to say. Because if it takes longer than we have planned, then maybe we can only fit one in. But if they're like not really feeling one topic, like they are feeling it, but like after a few minutes it kind of dies down, we can go to the next one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
I
maybe
agree with that.
I like that idea too. So maybe we can break down what the segments will be, and then maybe we can put some times on that. So I know we had talked about, and this is in no particular order, doing the giveaway of the day. And we can, map that out later. And then we could maybe we can do some type of check-in, just how was your day? And maybe that can be an opportunity for them to kind of talk about how their classes are going, something like that. Is everybody cool with that?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would do the unpopular opinion. Anything else that we should include in our, maybe we leave them with the scripture. I don't know, something, not like a whole Bible study, but maybe
Or
we leave them with something.
some with positive vibes or like motivational, something like that to like, hey, you still got this, like keep this going, like don't stop, don't quit, like something like that. Because like in the world, some people may just feel like giving up or I can't do this anymore, and we might just say like, hey, like, God is still here with us. Like he may not be here where you want him, but he gonna be here on time. So like
Right.
we may want to do that. Like every single person would like say that or anything.
Okay, so we could have some type of inspirational or uplifting moment,
Hmm.
positive vibes. Okay, I like
I
that.
like that idea.
Okay.
Maybe like a reminder, like they still can reach out to us, even though we're not in their faces like we are in Yeepaw Week, where like we are the ones that they're supposed to come to. Like they still can do that, even though we're all at home.
Cool. I like that.
Yeah. Or like make a group chat. Or like put our group chat
Yeah.
out there. Like, hey, if y'all
I
want to
don't
get
know
lit
about
in the group chat.
that, but like
It makes me nervous. Yes, I
we're
do.
gonna be talking with
Yeah. I do think that that's a good idea. Maybe, I don't know how this would work, 'cause I don't know how Google numbers work. But maybe even if we establish like an Elab Google number, to where one
Mhm.
of us could manage it, so that if they are in need of an Elabber, we have some way of them getting in communication without giving out our personal numbers.
Yeah.
Because I am very
Like,
leery of us giving out our personal numbers in this capacity, just because
mhm.
we're not together, and that just will open up a whole can of worms that I don't think that anybody on this call really will.
So
So
like, will we do like social media or?
no, it would literally just be like an actual line that they could call if they just want
Mhm.
to talk to. And I don't know, I have a Google number for work, but I don't really know how it works as far as like access to the number. If more than one person can have access to like taking number, you know what I'm saying? Is anybody following me?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
yeah,
Be here with.
I like that idea though. I do think that that would be really good to know that in the event that I'm dealing with X, Y, and Z, that this is the number that I can call. And obviously,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna get some people who are just gonna call the number just to call the number, but we may for real get some people who really are, in need.
And need.
Mhm.
Yeah, I like that. And we can advertise the number after like our big discussion.
Yes. All right. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, technically, it's 4 segments with the reminder.
Mhm.
And
I
then
like that social media idea. I feel like if we do use Instagram, as one of those platforms, I think that would be nice to have an Elab page. Just because I know Instagrams can be logged in by multiple people. So it is something that if one person was to run the live for the night or something like that, it could be used like that page.
Yeah, we could definitely do an Elab page. And then they can also not only utilize the live, but they could also utilize Messenger as well. So if they did need to send a message, they could do it that way as well.
And sorry.
We would have to run that through Auntie Leslie as far as it being an extension of Elab and making sure that she's okay with us having our own Instagram page under the name of EPOM, which I don't think she'll have an issue with, but we do need to clear it with her.
I was just curious on like how you guys feel like we should handle the talent show. Should we have people send in videos throughout the week, like to the Instagram page? Like how should we collect videos, and like should we judge them? Like what are we doing for the talent show?
I think however they're sent, we just need to pick something to where like it only goes where like we're the ones that see it, and not like it's something that's open for like everyone to see each other's stuff until we do the talent show.
Right.
Both videos have been a surprise, and so that like no one like sees each other's stuff, and like if something isn't working properly or if something looks not right a certain way, or if we need to go back to somebody and say, hey, this didn't work, can you resend it? Or hey, I'm not sure if this is appropriate, can you send something else in? Like no one has access to another participant's stuff until we share it later.
I feel like if we can, we should try and make it live. Like this a live thing where they're the ones that are doing whatever they're doing for that moment. And we're like, oh, okay, whatever. Okay, next person type thing.
Yes!
Not whatever. But
Kirsten with these ideas.
We had talked about doing that last week. So we could do both things. They could submit their videos or whatever their talent is. And then we can, from that, choose who's going to be in the lineup. We can send them an official document, or not official document, we can send them something that's saying, congratulations, you will be part of our talent show. And then they can, as it's their time to go, they'll know the order in which they're going. Then they can send their request to be added to the live so that it doesn't become, you know what I'm saying? So it will be live, but we will also know who's going to be in the talent show. And then we have a general idea as to what they're going to do.
that's a good idea. That's a really good
So
idea.
yeah, an audition is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So these kids might come out with something crazy. We're going to be like, oh, Lord.
I'm like, sorry.
Yeah, that's what we
Next.
don't want.
Yeah.
Next. You got to get the boot. Get the boot.
So maybe we can add that to the list of the portion, or to be a part of the segments of the show, is a reminder about the talent show.
Mm-hmm.
So we could do 2 reminders. We could do that, and we could do the talent show, or the Google number or whatever. And we also want to add like just some notes for the next day as to like what's up and coming. So like if we want to remind them about times of when things start, and I don't really know the logistics of the day yet, but maybe we want to, just reiterate what the next day will look like, so that they're ready and prepared for the next day. But with all of that, I think that that's more than an hour. Like that will be enough for an hour.
That's plenty for an hour.
So I think that if we decided to do one unpopular opinion per day, that I think that would be enough. And maybe we can choose like maybe 2 or 3 additional ones in the event that particular one that day, that one doesn't go very well, that we'll have a few as backups. Okay. So we have, going back to, if we want, let's do this, because we don't have to set the unpopular opinions in stone today. We'll leave the 3 that we have for now, And then if you guys think of any others that you think would be good for the segment, now that we have a general idea as to what the segment is, then we can kind of either shoot those in the group me, or we can kind of discuss those next week. As far as the giveaways are concerned, maybe we want to kind of map out what that's going to look like, or what we want to do. We don't necessarily have to have all the details, but as far as how we want to do the giveaway and what we giving away.
So will we know how many of our people will we see how many students that will be like coming in?
So the like I said, I don't know what the platform is for our time. But it will, at one point in time, we had talked about the fact that this will be open to everybody. So I don't know if this is going to be a live situation, because there are portions that are private. So only participants will be able to participate in that. But I'm not sure if the Elab time is a part of the members only portion. I'm not sure if it'll be open to everybody. So there is a possibility that we may have not just participants, but we may have people who just are on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? Depending upon what platform we use.
Gotcha.
So do we are throwing around the idea of using some type of hashtag and having the kids posting something, and that's how we would possibly do the winner of the giveaway? Or is that, I can't remember, is that what we discussed, or we may or may not have even discussed it at all?
I think we said that.
To do the hashtag. Oh, you know what? It was around the themes, maybe. No. I wonder if we don't know about the actual theme for the week, but I don't know if we're doing like themes for the day. Because
I was just wondering about that, yeah. Because then if we do, that could be another thing in the reminders, like, hey, tomorrow is Yeehaw Shirt Day, or tomorrow's Nike Day. Like, send in your, pictures, or post some stuff of you in your Nike with this hash, or whatever.
And we also don't know what giveaways that they're doing, that Kim is doing. Because I know that she had talked about doing giveaways as well. So maybe we need to find out more information from her to see what she plans on doing. And then that can kind of, because what we don't want to happen is what happened the year that Alan gave away the shoes. Because
I will never repeat that.
I won't. Awful. We don't want to plan to do something and then our plans get completely shut down because now they're giving away Apple Watches and we're giving away bags of candy.
Oh, Lord.
So I'm 100% sure they're not giving away Apple Watches, but we also don't know.
Because I'll be the first one to get one.
If Yeepaw's giving away Apple Watches, this whole group, we're swiping some immediately.
I'm getting one. I'll be the first one in line.
My neighbor has got to be kidding. If you don't. Okay, I'm sorry.
You better tell. You better go tell him.
I hear that.
What's going on?
What is it?
The neighbor just pulled up. Every time he pulls up, he has this truck, and the music is always so loud. Turn that down. And he sits in the car for like 5 minutes. Turn it down. Anyways, I'm sorry. This is good stuff, though, guys. I think this is a good place to start. So we can kind of fine tune what the day is going, or what the sessions will look like. And then we can start to map out what the, because it sounds to me like the only part that needs to really be scripted or to be prepared will have to be the unpopular opinion, which could potentially be 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. As opposed to it being a full 30 or a full 60. Right, I'm pleased with that for, as far as that gives us, hopefully we'll have this meeting with the team where we can, make sure that this is cool.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah. So yeah, we should get on sharing a summary of this with, I guess, with LPB and Kim, just to make sure that these are all kosher topics for the week and whatnot.
Mhm.
And then the meantime, so between now and next week, let me see here. Yeah, for next week, you can start like mulling over where each of these will go on each specific day, and start to iron them out a little bit more closely, step by step.
I think that's a good idea. So between now and next week, we can be thinking about any other unpopular opinions that we think would be good for that segment. And we can also be brainstorming ideas as to what we can do for the giveaway. Even though we don't know what HEPAW is doing, we can still kind of have a general idea what we want to do. And then also we can be thinking about a name for the set or for our time. So those, but I think that's good for today. Good work, guys.
Good stuff, everybody. Good work, team.
Excellent.
All right.
All right. Anybody have any other questions or final thoughts or concerns or anything like that today?
Nope.
Nope.
Everybody, please take care of yourselves. Stay healthy. Be mindful of whatever regular things or media or activities you consume, so that your own mental and spiritual wellness can be good and stable and as positive and on the up and up as possible. Any planning that we do has to still come from as grounded of a place in ourselves. Like we have to be well ourselves before we talk about doing any kind of light or heavy outpouring to anybody. So do whatever you can to keep yourselves as well as possible.
You as well.
Yes.
Okay. So thanks so much. So remember, next week our meeting is at 7 and not 6 o'clock, using the same code that we used this week. I'll try and see if I can go in and edit the time on there. I don't think it should make a difference, but using the same code as 7 next week.
7 next week.
See y'all later.
Alrighty. Sounds good.
Yeah.